Before planets had names, before Earth had oceans, before the sun was a stable star lighting up a calm family of worlds, there was chaos. Not the kind of chaos we imagine as random noise, but a violent, beautiful storm of creation. Dust. Colliding with dust, fire wrestling gravity, and time itself still figuring out what it wanted to become. Welcome back to Earth's Archive. This is the channel where we travel deep into time, far beyond human memory, to uncover the hidden stories written into the universe itself. And today, I want to take you to a moment so ancient, so wild, that even the planets didn't yet know what they were going to be. Because there was a time, an unimaginably distant time, when our solar system was not a peaceful arrangement of orbits and worlds. It was a battlefield, a construction site, a cosmic accident waiting to happen. And the fact that you're here today, breathing, listening, existing on a stable planet, is nothing short of miraculous. So settle in, because this story doesn't begin with Earth. It doesn't even begin with the sun. It begins in darkness. Long before our sun ignited, this region of space was just one tiny patch inside a vast, cold molecular cloud drifting through the Milky Way galaxy. These clouds are enormous, so large they can stretch across hundreds of light years, and inside them float the raw ingredients of creation: hydrogen, helium, tiny traces of heavier elements forged in the deaths of older stars. Nothing here looks special at first. No light, no planets, no warmth, just silence and cold so deep that atoms barely move. But inside this quiet, gravity is always at work. Slowly, almost patiently, gravity begins pulling material together. A slightly denser region forms, then grows denser still. Over hundreds of thousands of years, maybe millions, this clump starts collapsing inward under its own weight, and as it collapses, something incredible happens. The cloud begins to spin, not because something pushed it, but because of a fundamental rule of the universe. When matter falls inward, any tiny amount of rotation gets amplified. Just like an ice skater pulling their arms in to spin faster, this collapsing cloud starts rotating more and more rapidly. At the center, pressure builds, temperature rises, the core grows hotter, denser, more violent. This is the birth cry of our sun. But don't imagine the sun as it is today. This newborn star is unstable, furious, and unpredictable. It flares constantly. It spits radiation. It devours material from the swirling disk forming around it, a disk made of gas, dust, ice, and metal fragments. This disk is where everything else will be born, and this is where chaos truly begins. Around the young sun, the protoplanetary disk is thick and turbulent. Particles collide at insane speeds. Some stick together. Most shatter apart. There are no neat orbits yet, only crossing paths and violent encounters. Dust grains become pebbles. Pebbles become rocks. Rocks become boulders, and then gravity takes over again. As some objects grow larger, they start pulling in nearby material, growing faster than their neighbors. These growing bodies are called planetesimals, and later, protoplanets. But this growth isn't gentle. Every collision releases tremendous energy. Entire surfaces melt. Magma oceans form. Some objects are torn apart completely. Their remains recycled back into the disk. Imagine a sky filled not with stars, but with flaming debris streaking in every direction. Imagine standing on a forming world while impacts large enough to reshape. Continents happen again and again. There is no sky yet. No ground. No safety. Only fire. Closer to the sun, where heat is intense, lighter elements like hydrogen and helium are blown away by solar winds. Here, only heavy materials, rock and metal, can survive. This is why the inner planets become small, dense, and solid. Farther out, beyond what scientists call the frost line, temperatures are low enough for ice to form. Water ice, methane ice, ammonia ice. These ices dramatically increase the available building material, allowing planets to grow enormous. This is how the gas giants begin to form, but even giants are not born peacefully. Jupiter forms first, and Jupiter changes everything. As it grows, Jupiter becomes a gravitational bully. Its massive pull disrupts nearby orbits, flinging some objects inward toward the Sun and others outward into deep space. Many never return. Some slam into the inner planets, delivering water and volatile compounds. Others are ejected entirely, becoming rogue worlds drifting endlessly between the stars. Without Jupiter, Earth might never have received enough water to support life. And without Jupiter, Earth might not exist at all. But Jupiter isn't done causing trouble. Its movement through the disk, possibly migrating inward before moving back outward, reshapes the entire architecture of the solar system. Regions where planets could have formed are emptied. Others are enriched with debris. Mars, for example, may have been stranded, cut off from material it needed to grow larger, leaving it small and cold compared to Earth. Between Mars and Jupiter, chaos reigns supreme. Protoplanets collide and shatter, until nothing large survives. This region becomes the asteroid belt, a graveyard of failed worlds, and through all of this, the Sun is still changing. It gradually stabilizes. Its nuclear fusion becomes steady. Solar winds clear away remaining gas from the disk, bringing an end to planet formation. But the damage is already done. The young solar system is littered with debris, countless asteroids, comets, leftover planetesimals on unstable orbits. This leads to one of the most violent chapters in our story, the Late Heavy Bombardment. For hundreds of millions of years, the inner planets are pummeled relentlessly. Massive impacts carve craters, vaporize oceans, and melt crusts again and again. The Moon's scarred surface still preserves evidence of this era, a frozen record of terror from space. Earth is hit repeatedly by objects large enough to reset the surface entirely, and yet, Earth survives. Not only that, Earth transforms. One colossal impact may have created the Moon itself. A Mars-sized body collides with the early Earth, blasting material into orbit. That debris eventually coalesces into our Moon, stabilizing Earth's rotation and shaping tides that will one day influence life. Think about that. Our Moon, the object that lights up our night sky, may be the result of absolute catastrophe. Destruction, giving birth to balance. Slowly, impacts become less frequent. Orbits settle. The solar system cools into a fragile, delicate order. The chaos fades, but its fingerprints remain everywhere. In the tilt of planets, in the composition of atmospheres, in the water on Earth, in the very fact that life had a chance to begin, and this is only the beginning of the story. Because what came next, how Earth transformed from molten rock into a living world, might be even more unbelievable than the chaos that created it. As the violence slowly quieted, something extraordinary began to happen. The solar system didn't suddenly become peaceful overnight. There was no clear moment where chaos stopped and order began. Instead, it was a slow negotiation between gravity and time. Objects that survived long enough started settling into paths. Orbits became more circular. Collisions became rarer. Space, which once felt like a demolition zone, began to feel organized. But Earth was still nothing like the world we know today. If you could somehow travel back to this era and stand on the surface of the early Earth, assuming you could survive even a second, you wouldn't recognize it as home. The ground beneath you wouldn't be solid rock. It would be a global ocean of magma, glowing orange and red, constantly reshaped by impacts from above and eruptions from below. The sky wouldn't be blue. There wouldn't even be a real sky yet. Instead, thick clouds of toxic gases would swirl endlessly: carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, sulfur compounds released by relentless volcanic activity. Lightning would crack constantly through the atmosphere, not from storms like today, but from chemical instability itself. And above it all, the moon would loom impossibly close. So close that it would dominate the sky, pulling violently on Earth's molten surface. Tides wouldn't just move water, they would stretch the very crust of the planet, heating it from within and driving even more volcanic chaos. Day after day, year after year, for millions of years. Yet somehow, within this hellscape, the foundation for life was being quietly assembled. Water, delivered by icy asteroids and comets during the late stages of bombardment, began accumulating on the surface as Earth slowly cooled. Steam condensed into rain that fell non-stop for thousands of years, filling basins, carving the first primitive landscapes, and forming the earliest oceans. These oceans were nothing like today's calm blue seas. They were hot, acidic, and constantly bombarded from space. But they were stable enough for chemistry to begin experimenting, and chemistry, given enough time, is incredibly creative. While Earth was finding its footing, the rest of the solar system was also settling into its long-term identity. Mercury became locked into its strange dance with the sun, battered and stripped by heat and solar wind. Venus, once possibly Earth-like, began drifting toward runaway greenhouse conditions, trapping heat until its surface became hot enough to melt lead. Mars, smaller and weaker, lost much of its atmosphere and magnetic field, allowing solar radiation to slowly strip it bare. What may once have been rivers and lakes froze or evaporated, leaving behind a cold desert world that still whispers of what could have been. Farther out, the gas giants stabilized their moons, entire miniature solar systems of their own. Some of those moons, like Europa and Enceladus, quietly preserved oceans beneath icy shells, waiting patiently for futures we're only beginning to imagine. The chaos didn't disappear, it transformed. Instead of constant collisions, the danger shifted to rare but catastrophic events. Asteroids still crossed paths. Comets still fell inward from distant reservoirs like the Kuiper Belt and Oort cloud. But now, these events were exceptions, not the rule. The solar system had entered a fragile balance, and balance in the universe is never guaranteed. Every planet you see today exists because countless other possibilities failed. Worlds that formed too close to the sun and were erased. Planets that collided and merged or shattered beyond recovery. Entire systems that never stabilized long enough to allow complexity. Our solar system survived its childhood. That alone makes it special. But what makes it truly extraordinary is what came next. Because from chaos, not despite it, but because of it, conditions emerged that allowed something completely unprecedented to happen. Matter became curious. Atoms assembled into molecules, molecules into complex chains into self-replicating systems, and slowly, impossibly, the universe began to observe itself through life. And all of it traces back to that early era, when nothing was calm, nothing was guaranteed, and everything was fighting to exist. The next time you look up at the night sky, remember this. Those quiet, steady planets you see are survivors, veterans of a cosmic war zone that lasted hundreds of millions of years. And Earth? Earth is the story of chaos that learned how to stay balanced just long enough for you to be here listening to this. And we're still discovering just how close it all came to going very, very wrong. Even today, that ancient chaos hasn't completely let go of us. We like to imagine the solar system is finished, settled, complete. 8 planets in clean orbits. A calm sun rising and setting like clockwork. But the truth is far more unsettling. What we see now is not an ending. It's an intermission. Because the solar system never truly stops moving. Far beyond Neptune, in the frozen outskirts of space, trillions of icy bodies still orbit in darkness. Some follow predictable paths. Others are barely held in place by gravity. A small disturbance, a passing star, a subtle gravitational nudge, is enough to send one of them falling inward, toward the inner worlds. And when that happens, the past comes rushing back. Every comet that streaks across our sky is a reminder of the solar system's violent youth. Every asteroid tracked by telescopes is a leftover fragment from worlds that never finished forming. They are time capsules, untouched since the day the planets were born. Earth still bears their scars. Beneath forests, cities, and oceans lie ancient impact craters erased by erosion and plate tectonics. Some are so massive they reshaped climate, altered evolution, and reset life itself. Others are subtle, hidden, waiting to be discovered, and it forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Stability is temporary. The same gravity that built the planets can also undo them. Orbits slowly shift. Resonances build tension over millions of years. A planet can be nudged just enough to become unstable, and when that happens, the results are catastrophic. We know this because we've seen it elsewhere. Astronomers have observed distant star systems where planets are flung into their stars, smashed into each other, or ejected into interstellar space. Systems where hot Jupiters spiral dangerously close to their suns, scorching everything nearby. Systems that never found balance. Our solar system could have been one of those failures. A slightly different path for Jupiter. A slightly stronger, early solar wind. One poorly timed collision, and Earth might never have existed. Even the sun itself was once a threat to its own creation. Young stars are volatile, blasting radiation powerful enough to strip atmospheres from forming planets. If Earth had formed just a little closer, its water could have been lost forever. A little farther, and it might never have melted enough to differentiate into layers. The margin for success was razor thin, and yet, here we are, which makes you realize something profound. Chaos isn't the opposite of creation. Chaos is the engine of creation. Without violent collisions, planets wouldn't grow. Without instability, materials wouldn't mix. Without destruction, there would be no rebuilding. The solar system didn't emerge after chaos ended. It emerged from chaos learning restraint, and Earth, more than any other world we know, learned that lesson perfectly. Its magnetic field shielded it from solar radiation. Its size allowed it to hold an atmosphere without crushing itself. Its distance from the sun kept water liquid. Its moon stabilized its tilt. None of these were guaranteed. Every single one was a cosmic gamble. Even life itself may have depended on catastrophe. Massive impacts may have delivered organic molecules. Volcanism may have provided energy gradients. Extinctions may have cleared the path for intelligence. When we talk about chaos, we often imagine something to be feared, but the universe doesn't create through perfection. It creates through trial, and we are the survivors of those trials. Right. Now, as you listen to this, Earth is still moving through a shooting gallery of space debris. Jupiter still guards us, and occasionally endangers us. The sun still evolves, slowly brightening over billions of years, setting a deadline on Earth's habitability. Nothing is frozen in time. The solar system is a story still being written. One day, far in the future, chaos will return in a new form. The sun will swell into a red giant, inner planets may be consumed, orbits will change once again. What was built will be dismantled. But that doesn't make this moment meaningless. It makes it rare. It makes it precious. Because we exist in a brief window where chaos calmed just enough for awareness to emerge, for the universe to look back at itself and ask where it came from. And that question leads us right back to the beginning, to dust, to fire, to gravity, to a time when nothing was certain and everything was possible. When you step back and really think about it, the most astonishing part of this story isn't the violence or the scale or even the time involved, it's the outcome. Out of swirling dust and collapsing clouds, out of firestorms and endless collisions. Out of a solar system that began as pure disorder came a world that could wonder. Every atom in your body was forged in ancient stars that lived and died long before our sun was born. Every drop of water you've ever touched may have arrived on Earth riding an asteroid through chaos. Every breath you take depends on a chain of events so fragile that even the slightest change could have erased it all. And yet, against impossible odds, the solar system found balance. Not because it was designed to be peaceful, but because chaos slowly exhausted itself into structure, because gravity learned restraint, because destruction eventually gave way to stability, and Earth became the quiet miracle hiding inside a violent universe. The next time you see the sun rise, remember that it was once a raging infant star surrounded by debris and fire. When you see the moon, remember it may be the scar of Earth's greatest collision, a reminder that even catastrophe can leave behind beauty. And when you look up at the night sky, know that those calm points of light are part of a story that began in absolute uncertainty. We often ask how life began. But maybe the better question is, how did everything not fall apart? Because when the solar system was just chaos, nothing promised this ending. Nothing guaranteed oceans or skies or consciousness. The universe took a risk, and for a brief moment in cosmic time, that risk paid off. You are living inside that moment, and this is why these stories matter. Not just as science, not just as history, but as perspective. They remind us how rare stability is, how precious balance can be, and how extraordinary it is that we get to exist at all. If you enjoyed traveling back to the chaotic birth of our solar system, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Earth's Archive, and share it with someone who loves the mysteries of space and time. It truly helps the channel grow and allows us to keep exploring these incredible stories together. And most importantly, stay tuned for upcoming videos, because this is just one chapter. Next, we'll dive even deeper into Earth's transformation, ancient cosmic events, and the hidden forces that continue shaping our planet and our future. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And, as always, welcome to Earth's Archive.